Thankful for our very nimble friend Roger Wallace joining us here from Austin because some huge news out today. Steve Sarkisian and company looking to bolster up that coaching staff. And I'll tell you what, bringing in a former SEC head coach, a longtime defensive coordinator, he has ties to Nick Saban and others. Tell us about the big news there in the Lone Star State.
Yeah, this one caught everyone off guard, and that's saying something in 2025 when there was no hints of this. But Will Muschamp, new defensive coordinator. Pete Kwiatkowski out at Texas after 5 years. He came with Sark. He was at Washington, and Muschamp, who was at Texas from 2008 to 2010, when he dropped a bomb when he went to Florida as the head coach at the end of the season. That 2010 season was a losing season for Texas, and Muschamp had been named the head coach in waiting for Mack Brown
right
the previous year, and he was set to take over when Mack Brown was going to retire, but instead he got that Florida opportunity. He's been out of coaching for a year. He's very close with Kirby Smart. He spent time on that Georgia staff after he was let go at South Carolina. He went from Florida to South Carolina as head coach, and Muschamp coming back to Texas where he was wildly popular. Now, he was here in a great time, 2008 season, where they were a Michael Crabtree play away from potentially playing for a national title. 2009 season, obviously played for a national title. And then the year after Colt McCoy left, things went south on Texas, and Muschamp got that opportunity to go to Florida. But, yeah, this one catching everybody by surprise today because the defense has been kind of where Texas has leaned the last couple of years under Pete Kwiatkowski. This year, a few more cracks, especially in the second half of the season. But clearly there's more to this than what we know on the surface. And Sark and Muschamp don't have a lot of ties together. Muschamp has some ties to Nick Saban, so there's but doesn't everybody, right?
Yeah.
So, and Muschamp and Kirby Smart are good friends as well. So this was interesting, and also the other part of it is Dwayne Aquina has been let go. He came for 1 year as the safeties coach back to Texas. He was on the staff with Muschamp here as well, so looking to fill that slot. But the big news, obviously, Pete Kwiatkowski out as defensive coordinator, Will Muschamp in as defensive coordinator as Texas gets ready to play a bowl game next week that now everybody's forgotten about against Michigan with this news today.
Yeah, no question. Actually, you read my mind perfectly because one of the first things I thought of with Will Muschamp and Steve Sarkisian, I did the mental game of I was trying to put them, were they ever on the same staff? And like, okay, they never have been. They were on opposite sides of the country. They were still wildly successful when Sark was out west and Coach Muschamp was at Nick Saban's hip. And it felt like maybe that tie with Coach Saban might have been maybe the catalyst for this. But as you mentioned, he was wildly successful at Texas. Do you expect this move to be something to help trigger that again, to get back in maybe the head coaching game? Is this just a move to get back there on the field because he had a pretty good gig there at Georgia? I think he could make a bunch of calls, whether it's in college or in the NFL, and get a gig. Why now, and why this squad, and why this city?
Well, first of all, he knows what the Texas brand is, and you can't blame a guy from going to Florida as a head coach, even though he was the head coach in waiting at Texas. I don't know what his plans are. That the old saying, some coaches are just not meant to be head coaches. Didn't go great at Florida, didn't go great at South Carolina, but maybe he's still relatively young. So maybe that's the idea. But first and foremost, he knows what it's like around here more than anybody when they're in contention from the Mack Brown era, if you will. He wasn't there in 05 when they won the title. That was Gene Chizik. But 08, 09 was a pretty good time for the Longhorns, and he was right in the thick of it. And again, wildly popular. Obviously, his sideline antics are great theater. Some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that has gotten out, great theater. He's rough on the whiteboards, but this is way more than trying to get people to watch his antics. I mean, this is a guy that was a great defensive coach at Texas and other places, and clearly Sark thought that something needed to change, and he had the opportunity to get Will Muschamp, and he's going to bring him back to Austin. So, yeah, this one caught everybody off guard, and I think there are a lot of people we're already saying, hey, Texas defense was really good under Pete Kwiatkowski, man. Yep. Talk about the tough business. But Sark's the one front and center, and he's got to do what he thinks is the best move for this program. So this is a big one.
From a scheme perspective, how do you think these players are going to respond now?
Well, he's going to have so many new key defensive players. That's part of it. So I think they'll adjust to Muschamp more than he'll adjust to them. When you're talking about losing an Anthony Hill, losing a Leonga Lafau, Michael Taft, Jalen Gilbo just announced. We haven't heard Malik Muhammad's intentions as well. We haven't heard officially from Ethan Burke on the defensive line. Trey Moore also gone. So I would say this is going to be a Will Muschamp defense, and the pieces that remain, he will work those pieces. Obviously, he loved to attack. But doesn't everybody? They want to make plays, turn teams over, and Texas was really good at that, especially last year in their run to the Final Four. So, but I think Muschamp will put his stamp on it and work with what he's got. Also, guys, this portal season is going to be huge for Texas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Between the holes they need to fill, and now some of the holes that have come up because of attrition. That's going to be a big deal for them, and Muschamp will no doubt be a big part of this. I mean, I think he's going to hit the ground running as early as tomorrow.
I remember seeing Whit Muschamp, his son. I think he came into a game late, or maybe on a second on the depth chart there at Vanderbilt. He obviously has a son that is the age of the guys that he's recruiting. How big do you think this can be in recruiting? Because he was already a great recruiter before he had a child of this age, and now he understands kind of fully because he sees it there at home and a college football player himself. How big could this be for Texas recruiting? I know a lot of it's based on money, but I think it can tell a lot of guys hey, these are the laundry list of players I've put in the National Football League.
No doubt. And he's got experience in the NFL, too. He was with the Dolphins, and that's always something. If a coach can have an assistant check that box as well, it can't hurt, right? Because you go into a living room and say, hey, I know what it takes to get to the NFL. Mm-hmm. I send people to the NFL, and I've had players sent to the NFL as an assistant coach. So I think that helps. And you're right. I think Will Muschamp, he has so much passion, and I think he'll have no trouble making an impact. But, yeah, it's a different world now. With NIL, and it's more about the spreadsheet sometimes than about a scheme or a coach or even a program, and that's just the cold fact of college football in these days. They can say that they're coming to a university, but we kind of know what the deal is now. So it's going to be interesting to see what Muschamp does. Sark doesn't have his assistant coaches available to the media other than preseason and bowl games, and Muschamp was obviously a popular media darling here because he would speak every week. Mac Brown had his coordinator speak every week, but Muschamp he didn't pull any punches. And, it's been a few years removed, too. Everybody, evolves a little bit. He hasn't been here in 15 years, so it's not going to be the same Will Muschamp. If he's still going chest bump as high as he can jump, I'm not sure that's the best decision physically as he did back in the day with this Texas team.
Yeah, in his mid-50s, I don't know if those chest bumps hit the exact same way as they do when he's in
He'll be on the wrong. He did one with Brian Marakpo, and I think that was a big mistake.
You put a quick end to that one. You mentioned bowl games, and speaking of bowl prep, getting ready for a really entertaining game against Michigan. In my opinion, this might be one of the better bowls outside of the college football playoff. What are some of the ways that this Texas team is continuing to get ready for that, and maybe Will Muschamp's hand in possibly on-field or off-field there getting the Texas defense ready?
I think he'll have to be in some capacity, right? He doesn't have much time, but
right.
This is a defense. Again, they're going to play a lot of young guys. A lot of guys are going to get chances, and they have some interior guys that they're going to lean on. But I mean, Ty Anthony Smith is their veteran linebacker. Jelani McDonald's their leading tackler. There's been a lot of rumblings, but so far we've never heard anything concrete about his intentions. But like I said, Michael Taft is not going to play in the bowl game. Jalen Gilbo, you can go down the list. So it's going to be a chance to see some young guys. Grayson Littleton coming off an outstanding freshman season. He'll be more prominent for Texas. And we'll see what Michigan's been all quiet, right? So we don't know what's going on there with what their roster is going to look like as well. But the Texas defense hit hard by either the portal or players declaring, which is the modern day way of now opting out of a bowl game, is to announce you're going to the draft even if you have no eligibility, and then you're not going to play in a bowl game. So that's going to be fascinating, but this is really refocused, I think, this whole Texas fan base into, all right, what can Will Muschamp do? And he's popular, guys, but I want to reiterate, Pete Kwiatkowski had a really good defense. So I don't think people are just looking at this as a slam dunk. Yes, I understand 100%. We expect to hear from Sark this week, and I'm sure he'll be asked about that because the defensive numbers were good.
Yeah, and I would expect him to have a job probably pretty soon here. I mean, I know a defense that up in Morgantown that could use some work, but that might be a long shot.
Yeah. He's a West Coast guy, and you know, it's ironic that I hosted Sark's last coaches show, and PK was our guest. It was the show before the Texas A&M game, and you know, one of the things was, how did he get you out of the Western time zone, the West Coast, and Boise's obviously not totally West Coast, but you know what I mean. And he said it was, you know, because of Sark and because of Texas, but all his roots are out west, and so we'll see if he lands out there. But you know, there are going to be a lot of openings and a lot of coaches moving around still. So you're right. I don't think he's going to have a problem finding work, and we don't know behind the scenes what the conversations were with PK and Sark as well.
Roger, real quick, I don't mean to spin it to next year already, but while we have you on here, Arch did announce that he's going to return for 2026, and when you look,
everybody announced for Arch.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we haven't heard the words out of his mouth, but he is practicing. So
that's true.
When you look towards next year's schedule, I mean, there are a few games that do pop out, and especially that one at LSU. Looking towards next year, and it is hard to predict the future here in today's transfer portal world, but it feels like all year we've been talking about the offensive line. Do you expect them to improve upon that in the portal, or do you expect some guys to step up next year?
Yes and yes. I'm sure, they're hoping guys continue to develop that are here, but there's no question they're going to have to go get some help in the portal, and I think Sark mentioned that in his signing day press conference, that's going to be a priority. We don't know about Trevor Gooseby, the left tackle. There's a lot of talk that he's a little conflicted on what he wants to do. He's draft eligible. That would obviously be a big loss if he goes. And they were, you know, it's funny, guys, because it was a problem in some areas, but there were some veterans too. So it's not like everybody's back. Now they're going to grow a little bit with the guys that are back, but I don't think there's any question they're going to go get at least 2 offensive linemen. I don't think there's any question they're looking for a running back. I mean, you follow social media, you know all the talk out there about running backs in the portal, and probably got to get some help at linebacker as well. But yeah, for sure, offensive line's got to be a huge priority.
When you look at this matchup with Bryce Underwood and Arch Manning, we were speaking with Ian Kress, who's out of East Lansing, and one of the big things we talked about is like this felt like if you were just a watcher of high school football, these were kind of the 2 most talked about guys in high school football. So it looked like, okay, well, these guys might be on a trajectory to where these 2 are playing in the AFC Championship game in the next decade or so. As you line up these 2 quarterbacks, what are the things you want to see come game day? I know that you said that there might be some limited time on Arch's side, but what are some of the things you want to see on game day as they do spring forward to next season?
Yeah, and again, that was just my thought about the bowl game and the potential for injury. But all indications are, you know, they're going to play this one to try to get that 10th win. But sure, if he stays on that same trajectory, he lost a key receiver this week in DeAndre Moore, who had a big finish to the season. We don't know about the tight end Jack Endries, what his decision might be if something's coming in the next couple of weeks. But I have no reason to believe that that this offense can't be productive against Michigan, and Arch playing his best ball the last half of the season. And I think he's looking forward to one more chance to go out there. So, yeah, and then, you know, Underwood's so dangerous, and, you know, we talked about all the losses on the defense. That's going to be interesting, that linebacking core, trying to keep tabs on him and the dual threat that he is. And they've got really good running backs, too. So I think Michigan's going to like their chances to move the ball on the ground against a Texas defense. We don't really know what it's going to look like, but I think they're pretty confident that Arch Manning can do some damage. Waiting on Trey Wisner, if he's only a sophomore, a third-year guy, so a redshirt sophomore. So again, we're still in the phase where they get to go home a little bit for the holidays before they head to Orlando on the 26th of December. And I'm pretty confident not everybody has made a final decision, but I would think maybe offense will be the lean in this game for both teams, especially with Texas a little beat up, and then the ability for Underwood to make all those off-schedule plays. That's going to be tough for young linebackers to, trust themselves and, as they say, trust their eyes. And not to mention you don't have a Michael Taft back there kind of running that defense, not to mention Anthony Hill. I mean, hey, Colin Simmons, here you go, dude. Go make some plays.
I know. It'll be interesting to see what Muschamp schemes up against Bryce Underwood and that defense, and moving things very, very quickly. Speaking of quickly, you were able to jump on this call with us on very, very short notice. Thank you so much. Also for the video, helping provide the video to help tell the story of the defensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator, Will Muschamp there back in Austin. Thank you so much, Roger.
Yeah, guys, thanks. Happy holidays.
Absolutely. Happy holidays to you.